Why does Call Me By Your Name work while Licorice Pizza does not? I think it's a good question. I think the key to understanding this is taking a close look at the endings. Before that, one of the things that differentiates these two movies is the honesty with which the directors talked about the film. There's a parallel here with both directors making something very personal, with PTA reminiscing on the early 70s in Southern California, and Luca Guadagnino, being an Italian director, setting this in Italy. He's also a gay man. This is where we hit our first snag. PTA is reminiscing on a time in Southern California when a lot of pedophiles got away with being pedophiles, and that is exactly what Alana is in this film. Call Me By Your Name is a story about a 17-year-old and a 24-year-old in Italy. Now, is that creepy? I think so. Would I encourage my kid to be in that situation? No, I would not. But is it legal? Yes, it is. Now, does that make it something the audience shouldn't be uncomfortable with? No. Both of these directors had the intention of making the audience uncomfortable. I also think the movie is hurt a little bit by casting Armie Hammer, who is 30 years old. He does not look 24. And Timothée Chalamet, I think, was 20 or 21, but he looks even younger. Here's the other difference. Luca Guadagnino has talked about length about the movie being uncomfortable, about it being designed to get people out of their comfort zone, and he gets there are cultural differences where not everyone will take it the same way. PTA about Licorice Pizza said, "There's not a provocative bone in the film's body." That is disingenuous. The comedy in Licorice Pizza is found in the dynamic between the kid and the pedophile. Again, I'm not saying don't make the movie, but be honest about what you're doing. And the key to understanding Call Me By Your Name is understanding exactly what the film is setting up. Some of the audience is tricked by Oliver and by this romance in the same way that Elio is. They're in this beautiful environment, everything is perfect. Elio is very rich, his family has everything he could want. It's a very breezy, a fun lifestyle. You get this picture of this perfect summer romance where everything is beautiful and sensual and fun, and Elio might think this is going to go somewhere real. And then you get to the ending where you see the results of the power dynamic that was at play. You see a kid that was used and thrown out when it was convenient for Oliver. The flip of Oliver's behavior is so easy in this film. He knows it's going to end, he's having his fun, then he's going to leave and go on with his life. Much like we see in this shot, Oliver is in control throughout the entirety of the film. He dictates what happens when it happens. At the end, you see an emotionally distraught kid that was manipulated, that was by no means ready for what had happened. All of the beautiful light and the scenery and the fun and that beautiful Sufjan Stevens score with how light it was is pulled away, and we're left with a kid sitting in the cold crying for the entire end credit. Meanwhile, Licorice Pizza, and then Licorice Pizza. No fallout, no critique, no punishment for this character. You see what PTA said about this ending and the character, and he has empathy for her and thinks about their future. He does not just see her as the pedophile that she is. It's not that you can't display negative or challenging or wrong things on screen, but there should be some portrayal of the downside of those things. To tie into that as a final thought, I wanted to shout out my buddy Philly here, who thinks that Goodfellas and The Godfather are glamorizing being in the mob. The Godfather, of course, being a trilogy about the destruction of Michael's soul by the mob. Goodfellas being a story about Henry Hill only wanting to be a gangster and then getting into it and seeing it's a world of violence and drugs and paranoia and anxiety and becoming a drug-addled rat.